Hi guys, Tracy here, and today I'm going to give you our update for November in terms of our tiny house budget and our challenge for the year, which was, can we live on Social Security in a tiny house? To be clear, I don't qualify for Social Security yet, neither does my husband. It's just a challenge that we do, and I'm trying to think through what next year's challenge should be. So if you have any ideas, let me know in the comments. I love to try to challenge myself to live beneath my means and see how we can do so we can prepare for the future. So that is my goal, and that's what I try to do. And so if you have ideas, I would love to hear them so that I can think through what next year's challenge should be for me and my husband. So I can give you an update on how we're doing in November in terms of, can we live on Social Security in a tiny house? So let's go ahead and check out November's budget against our actuals and see how we did. Just FYI, I did not do a video for October. My husband is a government employee and we did not get paid in the month of October. I did still tally everything. I just did not do a video. It just wasn't something that I was excited to do about. When you don't get a paycheck for well over a month, I think it took about 55 or 56 days to actually get a paycheck. It just doesn't give me the energy to do a budget video, but I did tally them up for my husband and I will share the combined results. I think in January is when we'll do like a whole summary of how 2025 went in terms of our challenge and then what the challenge will be for next year. So let's go ahead and look at what happened in November. So as we look at our spreadsheet here, we have, get this up for you. We have our tiny house mortgage and insurance. Our budget is $1,147, and that is what it cost on this mortgage. Now, this tiny house was around 126,000 out the door. We put 10% down, and the rest of it we financed with a mortgage at somewhere around 9%, which is actually not bad, but not great either. So whenever you're looking for rates on tiny houses, a lot of tiny house builders will want you to pay cash. And that was our option. Our option was pay all of it cash before we got it, which I had seen a lot of videos on tiny house builders who didn't actually deliver. And so that was not for me. The other option was to use the mortgage company that they had, in which case we only had to put down 10%. We could mortgage the rest. That's the option we chose. We have had problems in our tiny house with finding someone to insure it because of the width of the tiny house. The tiny house that I live in is 12 feet wide. It is not considered an RV in Arizona. It's called a mobile home in Arizona. Unfortunately, the mobile home setting or insurance setting, I guess, for many insurance companies requires a higher voltage or electrical setup than what we have in this house, this is kind of a park model, but they need it to be something like, I don't know, I want to say it's like 100 amps. I'm just throwing it out there. It's been months since I've talked to the insurance company, but ours is 50 amps. So it doesn't quite fall under RV. It doesn't quite fall under mobile home. It's a tiny house and nobody knows what to do with them. So good thing my mortgage company does insure it for us. So we do pay our insurance to the mortgage company. So this figure includes our mortgage. It includes our insurance, and it actually includes our personal property tax, which is something that is going to be very interesting when we get the bill for that. With a normal, let's say, RV purchase, you purchase it like a vehicle, which means you owe your state sales tax if you're buying it out of state. So if you're buying it out of state and you're bringing it into state, you're going to owe your state's sales tax if your state has any sales tax. If it's not an RV and a mobile home or a tiny house that doesn't qualify under an RV, you don't pay that sales tax. you pay what's called personal property tax, which is like another sales tax. So we will be paying personal property tax on this until it depreciates. So I am going to share that when it comes. I don't think it's going to be like killer high, but it's not going to be cheap. So in the end, we could affix the tiny house to the land, which could be a little bit complicated, cost a little bit more money, and then we wouldn't pay that personal property tax. And I'll do a whole video on this, but the actual numbers don't work out. And that is because land values and house resale values go up in time, while mobile homes actually depreciate over time. So my land will go up, but my home will decrease. And so paying the taxes, I'll have property tax and I'll have personal property tax on the tiny home. But the personal property tax will go down every year while the land tax will go up. If I combine the two and affix them and call it like real property, then they will both go up. And so I actually can save tens of thousands of dollars by not affixing this mobile home, this tiny home, to the property. But again, that's a whole other video. All to say, we paid the mortgage. It met the balance. They didn't increase it yet. So the difference is $0. We'll see if that increases next year. Now, here's the kicker. Property taxes came in. Now, this one shocked me. So our budget to pay the property tax, what I had saved for the property tax was about $400. The 6-month property tax actually came in at $680, which is twice what I expected. When we had an RV on this property, it was only $600, and that's when we first purchased it. It has now doubled to $1,360 a year. So instead of paying $600, I'm now going to have to pay $1,360 per year, and that will increase about 5% every year is the max that it can increase through this. Actually, the limited cash value of this house, of this property, not the house, of the land, will go up at most 5% every year, not the actual value. And then I pay property tax on the limited cash value of the land. Now, this land was not valued at what they're valuing it at now when I purchased the property. So what happened was, and here's just an FYI, if you ever have a piece of property, like anytime you do something to that property, if you split it, if you put a house on it, if you put an extension on your home, in Arizona, the assessor has the opportunity to then revalue your home based on current rates. So it happens with your home. It also happens with land. What happened during the year that we purchased this property? Now, when I purchased this property, I did look at property taxes and they were $600. I was good with that. We didn't change anything to this property when I bought it. What happened was, prior to purchasing this property in the same year, the person who owned this property before me redid the lot lines. And when she redid the lot lines, that triggered the assessor to reevaluate the price of my property, and they evaluated it at basically my purchase price. So instead of having it, the value of the land worth kind of less than what, I mean, I actually think I have an argument to actually go back to the assessor and try to get it lowered, which I may do next year. But the whole point in me telling you this is that if you have property, especially if you have property in Arizona, anytime you make a significant change to it, it will affect your taxes. So just be aware of that. I was not aware that changing lot lines, the acreage kind of stayed the same, but the lot lines changed, and so the configuration of the lot changed. And because that configuration happened, this property tax basically doubled. And I was not aware of that. So now you know, and I can do a whole video on all of this for anyone who's interested in tiny house living. I know a lot of people who buy tiny houses, they buy them without understanding the land and all the stuff that happens with the land. I can share as much as you want on that. So let me know in the comments if you want to learn more about that. I will share, but it has been a journey and it's something like no one ever talks about. So word to the wise. Don't mess around with your land unless you're serious about like building something. And then do it early. Do it while prices are low, because in Arizona they can only increase that limited cash value 5%. So I can go ahead into more details later, but word to the wise, property taxes are going to double, and so now I have to kind of set that aside. The next thing is electricity. I was really surprised about electricity this year. This tiny house is extremely efficient. I love it, love it, love it. My electricity bill was only $63.62, and I expect it to go a lot less over the next few months. So we got past the heat of the summer, which is the hottest time for Arizona, and our electricity bill, I think, was at most like $100 for this place, which is amazing in 120-degree heat. So wonderful news. Propane has been shocking to me. We have not finished off a propane tank in months. So I keep budgeting $30 to fill it, and I don't have to fill it because the propane tank is not empty. So $0 this month. I think it'd be interesting in a year when we come back and kind of do like over the course of a year, how much does it cost for propane? And this is for 2 people living in this house. So it is fascinating to me. So we didn't pay anything. So that was great. Internet's expensive where I live. I got Starlink. It's $120. It's a lot. Maybe one day we'll be able to decrease that in the future. But right now it's a lot and it's too much. But that's what we pay. Water was only $15. So that's great. I did get a notice that is going to increase up to 40%. So I'm disappointed. But I'm not going to lie and tell you that $15 a month is so cheap for water in Arizona. It's so cheap in Arizona for water. So it doesn't surprise me that they want more. And, they're going to get it. Hopefully not to the tune of 40% more. But I don't know. We'll see. Trash under $20 is great. A cell phone, $50. I use Visible. It's actually a little bit cheaper. I think it might be $23. It's going to renew. So once it renews, I'll have the right figure. But $50 a month for 2 cellular phones, unlimited data, kind of on a Verizon plan by Visible is really good. It's the cheapest I've paid in forever. Groceries, I was over on groceries. My budget's $500. And honestly, that's kind of low. For what food costs these days. But I do try as best I can to stay at the $500. I was a little over this month because I did stock up on some canned goods that Amazon was having an amazing sale on. I mean, we're talking like 55 cents a can for potatoes and green beans. It's so cheap. It was so cheap. Usually at the Dollar Tree you get those for $1.25, but Amazon had them for like 54 cents a can. I couldn't pass it up. I got like 6 cases. So I was a little high on groceries because I stocked up. But the good news is we didn't go out as much. And so my restaurant bill was only $28. So that was just, I think we went out to In-N-Out Burger once or twice. That might be twice. In-N-Out Burger twice. Me and my husband, when we go to In-N-Out Burger, it's only like $13 for both of us. So it's a great deal if we want to go out and have a nice little sit down together. So between the groceries and the restaurants, I kind of broke even on food, which I'm happy with. Car insurance, I'm budgeting at $310. We pay that annually, so I just set that aside. Gas, we did good. I kind of expected more traveling for the Thanksgiving holiday, and I thought that would increase our gas bill for the car, but it didn't. So we were at $199, difference of $101, which is great. Car maintenance and registrations, I just put $274 to the side. So that will just happen when it happens in a year from now. Again, we pay all of that in a year, and then I just kind of keep a little bucket of it. So I know that is set aside for car registrations and maintenance when it comes due. We don't have a lot of maintenance because our vehicles are new, but the registrations are pretty high. It's kind of funny. It's like when you have a new car, you pay high registrations, no maintenance. But when you have an older car, you pay like low registration and high maintenance. So it's just kind of funny the way things work out, right? Medical insurance, $500. I am cutting that way down next year. So I'm so happy about that. And I think I'm getting that down by well over half. So we'll see. But that is going bye-bye. And I did a whole video on that. If you want to see that, it's like a couple videos back. Just check the playlists, check my recent videos. And I did a whole video on how you can save on medical insurance. And it's still open enrollment, so you still have time. The next one is prescriptions and supplements. We had actually purchased our supplements in advance a couple months ago. We got like 3 months supply, so we didn't need any more. And I didn't have any prescriptions either. So it was a great month for not having those type of bills. So I actually saved money, $50. And then I did go see doctors last month. Last month was awful, was just awful. So I have some bills coming in for that. I have a copay of $35 that just hit the books, and I'll be paying that. Household and personal items. I've needed to do some things like buy covers for my furniture and stuff. My older dog Tank is starting to exhibit older dog signs. And so we are needing to cover the furniture and make sure there's no doggy pee and stuff on there. So we are having out of pocket on some personal items, household things. Entertainment, I did go over on this month because we went to a couple games, sporting games, sporting events, and I didn't quite anticipate the $20 parking fees. And then, of course, the eating. That's actually eating out food too. So maybe I didn't do so good on my eating out because I put that under entertainment. Maybe that should have been under eating out. Oh, well. Pets, again, our dogs, we have 2 English bulldogs. They are 4 and 8, and they just are expensive. We make their own food. So we do a mixture of basically rice, sweet potatoes, salmon, green beans, blueberries. We do their vitamins, they have minerals, and a lot of things go into their food that we make every week, usually twice a week for them. And that's all human food, and that salmon is expensive. The reason why we do that is because if we don't, our older dog Tank tends to like lose all of his hair. It just comes out. And so we have found that when we make his food, he has a really nice shiny coat. He's extremely allergic to like everything. And it's just getting worse for him as he gets into that older bulldog age. So bulldogs generally, average age is about 8. So 8 to 10. And you're lucky if you get 10. I've had 2 bulldogs prior to these 2, and neither one of them made it past 4 years. And it wasn't because of something I did. They always tend to have some kind of issue. I had one of them that was a cancer issue, and then another one that I had adopted, and she was abused by a breeder and had so many problems and we were trying to help her and fix problems in her teeth, fix problems in her body. And I think the abuse was just too much for her. And she had the best 4 months of her life with us. And prior to that, she had another owner. And then prior to that, she was basically abused by a breeder. So, breaks my heart. I loved that dog. So her name was Pop-Tart. She was such a sprite little baby. I loved her so much. I was sad we only got 4 months with her, but I think it was the best 4 months she ever had. So. These babies. We adopted Tink after her, and then adopted Atari after Tink. So Tink was given to a rescue, and Atari was basically, she was going to be bred, but then the owner got in trouble for not like declaring her on the lease. And so she needed cash fast. And I adopted her from that person. And she did not become a breeder dog. She became a sprite little Atari puppy. So we have adopted both of these dogs and do our best to do right by them. But they are not cheap, and English Bulldogs are not cheap. So if you ever want to buy a dog or adopt a dog, know that they come with a lot of expenses. And in October and I think in September, they both had visits to not only their general wellness visits, but I know that each one of them in the last 3 months has had an emergency vet visit. So anytime you have an emergency vet visit, you're looking at a minimum of, my experience, $300 to $500 a minimum. And that's even if you have a wellness plan. Now, I'm not talking about insurance. Like the healthcare insurance for pets is not something that really had ever worked out for me. I had a bulldog that had cancer before, and even then having the insurance just kind of broke even. And it's just not something that I just save money basically and pay cash for those things. But just be aware, if you're going to adopt an animal, that's wonderful. Just know that they're very, very expensive. So right now, my budget's $500, and I think last month it hit $900. I think last month our vet bill was high. And so I think I was at $900 plus last month for some of Tank's vet's bills that he had. Now he's an older dog, and so he has problems. And, sometimes the vets are like, hey, you need to do surgery on him so that he doesn't pee. And then you have to ask him, well, if we do that, what are the risks that he's going to die in surgery? What are the risks, and what does that outweigh? Right. So I don't know. It is very hard to work through all of those things. But with an English Bulldog, you can't just put them under for any general surgery, because their nose is so flat that they're at risk for dying on the table. And so that's just not, we are very, very careful when it comes to making decisions about surgeries for them. It's just not something we get into. It's not about the money. If we think it's going to help them, we're going to do it. But if we think it causes more problem than good, then we don't do it. And so it's just a thing you have to think through when you're having a pet. I mean, some people will even have the insurance, right? And so when you buy the insurance, then you're like, of course we're going to do the surgery because we have the insurance. Well, it may not be the right thing for the dog. So you just got to think things through and know that they're not cheap. Animals are not cheap, and we do our best by them. Clothes, the budget's $100. We hit $104. I bought some Black Friday deals, which were great. So over $4, not a big deal. Giving charity, $3.95. My giving and charity mostly will fall into next month. So we'll get all that wrapped up by the end of the year. And then gym membership was $13. And I think we'll have a couple hits on gym membership in December. I think. Maybe not. I think it might just be 13 still. So all to say, guys, my total expenses were $4,826. If we lived on Social Security, on the average Social Security, me and my husband, we would expect to receive somewhere around $3,952 this year per month. What that means is if I have a mortgage on this tiny house, I cannot live on Social Security alone. So if that's the plan in the future, then I got to pay the mortgage off before I retire, whenever that's going to be. I currently don't have a plan for that. I'm planning for it, but I just don't know when that's going to happen. I should probably think about that more. Let me know what your thoughts are. I would love to know. If you retired, what were some steps that you took to see if you would be ready one day and what that would look like? But if we do pay off the mortgage, then if we had a great month like we did, then yeah, we can live on Social Security. The problem that I'm seeing and what's clear to me is that when you are planning to live on Social Security, you really need to have your mortgage kind of paid off, or have some really, really cheap rent, or share a mortgage with someone else, or share space with people, or live off grid. You can do that too. We have a wonderful place off grid that basically costs us $30 a year. It's really cheap and the maintenance is nothing, but it's off grid and it's pretty rustic. So I don't know if I want to live there when I'm when I'm doing Social Security or when I get older. I'm not sure yet, but I love it there. It's just rustic and it's kind of far from things because it's way off grid. And when you're getting older, you need to be closer to the hospitals, I think. At least that is what I've seen in my experience. So, in order to live in this tiny house and just live with Social Security checks, we're going to have it paid off. Now, like even if my husband passed or if I passed, that Social Security check would be cut in half. Then you couldn't really do it hardly at all. You would have to definitely say goodbye to my pets. I'd have to say goodbye. If my husband passed and I had to live on half of this, obviously I'd have to say goodbye to my pets. I'd probably say goodbye to giving. I'd probably do more volunteering instead of giving money, which makes me sad. I would probably have no entertainment. My food would be cut in half. I mean, maybe it could work. I could probably run the numbers on that. If you're curious, let me know. It could work, but it would be really, really hard, I think. So all to say, guys, I hope that this video was helpful to you and maybe you learned something about property taxes or tiny homes or budgeting in this video. And if you did, give it a thumbs up. And don't forget to subscribe for next month's kind of wrap up on the year. And once I get the whole year of tiny home living down, I'll do a whole kind of average on what it cost us for a whole year of living in the tiny house. All right. I hope this video was helpful. You have a blessed day. Bye.